Well, good morning or good afternoon to everyone, whatever the case may be to you. I want to welcome everyone to today's webinar, Why Contractors Choose Spectrum Construction Software. I am Andy Holtman with Dexter & Cheney, and in just a few moments, I'll turn things over to my colleague, Mark Schwartz, who will show you why thousands of contractors do indeed use Spectrum to improve their business. But as folks are still kind of trickling in here this morning, I just want to take a few seconds to go over just a handful of housekeeping tips in case you're new to using the GoToWebinar panel here. If this is your first time, you might notice the navigation bar to the usually on the right-hand side of your screen there. This is where you can interact with us during the webinar today. You might see a little orange arrow there where you can expand or hide the navigation bar to your liking. But you also see a number of different options within that panel where you can adjust the settings, interact with us, and more. One thing you might notice is that you are muted on the call today if you're an attendee. We do have a good number of people attending this morning, and we just want to make sure there's no background noise, that everybody can hear the presentation. However, you can still, like I said, interact with us by using the navigation bar. There's dialog boxes where you can raise your hand, you can ask a question, you can make a comment at any point during this webinar, and we will see that. If you do have a question or comment, go ahead and type it in, and we'll do our very best to address it during the webinar today. But if we're not able to, we do follow up with folks after the webinar and just see if there's any other questions that folks might have. We do also record these webinars, so we will record it today. And I know a lot of attendees usually like to have a copy of the recording. Just let us know if you would like a copy of the recording, or again, we'll be reaching out with folks after the webinar and following up and see if folks would like their recording as well. Just a quick word about Dexter & Cheney for anybody that might not know. We are a construction software company specializing in business management and operations solutions. We began way back in 1981 with accounting software for the construction industry, so we've been around for more than 35 years now. Today, we're the leader in cloud-based construction ERP software. Our Spectrum Construction Suite is a full suite accounting, business management, project management, equipment management, and service management solution that you can access to get work done wherever your work takes you. Dexter & Cheney also partners with a number of industry associations and organizations to bring educational resources to the industry as well, including webinars like you're on today, white papers, videos, blogs, podcasts, and a whole lot more. You can find these by visiting our website at www.dextercheney.com. Now, I know everybody here is chomping at the bit to learn why contractors choose Spectrum, so that I'll go and turn things over to Mark here. Mark, go ahead and tell us, if you're a contractor looking for a leg up, why should you consider using Spectrum? Mark, are you there?
Yes, I am.
There we go. All right.
You were doing such a good job explaining all the good stuff going on, I figured I'd turn my microphone off so I didn't interrupt you.
That might help. All right, and now without further ado, Mark will go into a section here.
You know, what I was saying is that when people ask me why they should buy Spectrum, my response is, hey, I'm a sales guy. And so the question more is when we sell Spectrum and we ask our customers, why did you buy it? Why did you choose us over our competition? And we clearly aren't alone in the field. There's plenty of guys out there you can buy software from, and a lot of it's really good. And so I'll take you through some of the reasons why folks told us they bought it, and let's see how that goes. I'm going to try to keep my presentation around 40 minutes or so. I know he's scheduled an hour. That'll give us time for questions, and then I've got a hard out at the top of the next hour. So let's get underway here. So for those of you who don't know much about our software, I want you to look at the screen at the top of the screen, and it may be familiar to us. It's a URL that you might find on your web browser because, in fact, I'm in Google Chrome. If I hit the tab here, you'll see I've got Starts Page. It pulls up Bing, and that's because I like Bing. And you could pull up your bank or anything else. Just it's a normal, regular web browser. And so some of the folks that picked our software said they liked the browser, and because of what it does for them. It means that you can sit down at virtually any computer in the world and get to work. It means you could be over at your mom's house and get a phone call from someone in the office saying, hey, I need some help with such and such, and you could go over to her computer and sit down and get your work done. It means your guys in the field could pull up an iPad and get their work done. It means that the boss who could be on his boat wants to check a report, he could go and get his work done too. And if you are a boss, I'm not making fun of you. I want you to be on your boat. The whole idea here is that we want to make it easy for you guys to get your work done, and that whole ease of use is huge, because if you think about it, when you're making a change in software, there's a whole lot of cost involved, and not just in what you're going to pay us or some other company. There's going to be a lot of cost in terms of you changing the way you do things in your business and setting up the new software. It's just a big undertaking. So the first thing is being in a web browser. It makes it easier. And then when folks sign in, they like our dashboard. Now I know there's a jillion dashboards out there. Everybody who's showing software's got dashboards, and they're all pretty cool. And all of them do what dashboards are supposed to do, and that is let you know when things are going wrong. So I've got a few things rolling on this dashboard here. I'll bring this over here, design it, make it a little neater. So as an example, I've set up a dashboard that might be appropriate for a project manager. And so I've got a list here of his underbilled jobs, or just a list of his jobs, or proposed change requests that are getting stale. And what folks like about our dashboard is that anybody can configure their dashboard to fit the way they like to see things. And if you think about it, and you walk around your office, you'll know that nobody's got the same desk. Some guys are neat desks, some guys are messy desks. So what we want to do is provide an environment so that your staff feels comfortable in here. And that may mean they'd get a neat dashboard where everything's all lined up, or maybe they like a little messier one, kind of like I do, because I'm more of a messy desk guy. I'm not proud of it, it just seems to work out that way. The other thing they like is the ability to set a dashboard up, not just in rearranging the apps, but actually to put apps on that they want. So you might be the kind of guy that doesn't write very many verbal changes, and you get rid of that. Maybe you don't need to see this proposed changing one. Maybe you're more interested in cash flow. So you can go to settings, and then it'll bring up a list of the dashboard apps that you have access to. And when I say you, that's built around who you are. So if you're a project manager, these apps will be for project managers. And if you're an accountant, there'll be accounting apps. If you're a boss, there'll be boss apps. And here, I could say I want to look at, cash flow we said. So I'll say we want to look at cash. And here's my job cash flow, and I'll pull that out. And then I'll say save. And here it is right here. And it shouldn't surprise you, all my jobs have negative cash flow. The worst being this one here with $2 million upside down. And here's a little bit difference. I think a big difference between our dashboard and some of the others, and again, why folks are choosing us, is that in the other packages you'll be looking at, the dashboard is going to be part of the reporting system, and that's pretty cool. So if you're looking at a dashboard app that's going to show you, say, for example, customer aging, when you click into that portion of the dashboard, it'll run a customer aging report, which is all valuable data. We take a little bit different approach in that our dashboard is not part of the reporting section, it's part of the user interface. Now, in the software business, the user interface is that part of the software that interacts with the user. It means that makes it easier or harder for that user to get their work done. So for example, if I see a job here with negative cash flow, when I click in here, Spectrum takes me to that place in the software where I can start analyzing why this cash flow is so negative. And you can see right away I've billed 1.6 million but only collected 300,000. That might have a lot to do with it. The other part of it is I'm underbilled by $1 million. That might have another part to do with it. When I'm back on that dashboard here, and I see I've got a list of unapproved AP invoices, it's not just a report. Excuse me. When I click on it, it takes me to the screen where I can do my approvals. When I'm back on that dashboard and I see a compliance log issues or time cards to review or workflow assignments or responses to review, all of these things are single click to action items where I click, I get taken to a screen, I fix the problem. I was just on a demo prior to this webinar with some very nice gentlemen, and he was telling me about his day, and he says, my job is to come here and put the fires out. And quite frankly, I want a dashboard that's going to let me know where the fires are, and I'd like an easy way to go and get to those fires to put them out, and that's what we're offering here, and that's why folks buy Spectrum. Last thing about the dashboard that folks appreciate is that you can custom make your own apps. This one here is a perfect example, my underbilled jobs. I was on the phone with the CFO and he was down in the dumps. I said, what's the problem? He says, my cash flow is in the toilet. I said, how come? He said, my project managers aren't getting their billings out on time. And I thought, how do I help them do that? So I built this dashboard, and what it does, it says if your revenues exceed your billing, and it's been 25 days since you billed it, we're going to pop it up here. So a PM can simply come into here, he's taken right away to the screen where he can start filling out his schedule of values for billing. Now you might have other issues, you might have processes that you want to track. Whatever, if there's data in the system that we can use and help tracking that process or alerts, we can build an app to do this. Or if you've got some technical people, you can build the app too. Once you're into Spectrum, once you've gone through and you're deeper in the package here, and we'll look at this job, HS1912. Folks, they like how we've laid the screens out. And they start looking over here on the right. These are your favorites, and I know that virtually every package has favorites. My favorites are pretty complex because I'm a demo guy, and I have to jump around the system. Most folks' favorites look like this. And building these favorites, it can be pretty easy. And notice when I'm hovering over job cost here, and when I click the X, it gets rid of it, just like same with projected cost. And let's say after doing that I feel bad and I'd like to put them back. And I go up to this plus up here and open up our site map. You might think of it as a menu. And I go into job cost and go into data entry. And if you look right here where it says projected cost, right at the edge here is the star. When I click that star, watch what happens down here. Just pops it right in. In fact, I could do that for the whole job cost module if I want. Puts it right there. In the center section of your screen, this is where all the action is going to happen, and we'll get to that in a little bit. This thing over here on the left is called the info bar, and this is another reason why folks buy Spectrum. And it boils out to, on the info bar, because the info bar fundamentally changes how you use your software. And I want to take you to a traditional menu. And the package you're using today, and virtually every other package you're looking to buy, is going to have a menu that looks like this. We all do. Because when you're designing software, it's kind of how you think of modules and the different ways you're going to offer the package to different customers, because not every customer needs everything, and that's how they're all built. And as a result of that, over time, that means any one of your jobs are going to be represented in a bunch of these different modules. I want you to think about a job. And I want you to scan down my module list here. Part of your job is going to be an AP. You're going to obviously buy things for the job. Part of it will be an AR when you do your billing. Part of it is going to be an equipment control if you run equipment. Parts will be in inventory control or job cost, materials management, payroll, project management, project setup, purchasing. So what that means is that if anyone's going to manage a job, and you present them a menu that looks like this, they need to know where to go in here to find that information. Now, I've been doing this about 13 years, and when I show a menu like this to the accounting staff, they're okay with it. They're used to it. When I show a menu like this to the project managers, they're not happy with me. Not at all. And they're not happy for a couple of reasons. One is, this is clearly an accounting system. And every project manager I've talked to has made a conscientious decision not to be an accountant. And they don't want to be an accountant. They don't want to be in the accounting system. For a couple of reasons there, because A, it's a little confusing. They don't know where to go in here, and you really can't blame them, and I'll give you an example in a minute. And B, they're worried about stepping on something and having someone yell at them. And so what that means then is if you want to present a system that's good for both the project management side of the house as well as the accounting side of the house, if you're asking the accountants, the project managers to behave like accountants, you're going to have trouble. And what the info bar does, it says, don't worry about the menu. We're not going to ask you to go there. Because everything about this job we put right here. And we don't care where in the system it is. It's not modular based. Let me give you an example. Using this menu, if I were to ask you, where would you look up subcontracts on a specific job, what would you do? You'd start scanning down here. And you'd be a little frustrated. Right about here, you'd say, okay, this is stupid. You keep scanning, you're going, Mark, I'm going to kill you if this isn't any easier. And you go right here and you go, aha, I found something that says subcontract, and you'd start exploring here, and right away I'm going to tell you, don't go there, it's not going to answer your question. And now you've probably given up. Because computers should be easier than this. And using a menu structure like this, you'd go into accounts payable in our system. You wouldn't go here. You'd go here to the inquiries. And you go to subcontracts by job, and then you type the job number in. And that's how you'd find your subcontracts on this specific job. Now compare that to the info bar. Here I am on this job, and look at my options. Job overview, properties, costs, documents, changes, billing, and reports. In this group, where would subcontracts be? Well, a subcontract is a cost to the job. And now we're done. Now, if you're on the project management staff, let me ask you, how hard was that? If you're on the accounting staff and you need to support your project management staff, how hard was that? And something else happened here, and this is another reason why I'm so tickled by the info bar. I'm going back to where we started. Notice down here it's all empty. And when I go back and look at those subcontracts, before I click this, watch what happens down here. Look what happened here. I've got the vendor info bar and the subcontract info bar popped up. And why did they? Because you just might want to know something about that vendor or something about that subcontract in more detail than is represented by this screen. The info bar is behaving like a waiter at a fine restaurant. And out here in Seattle, you can get clam chowder. And when I get clam chowder, I get the kind of New England style. And a good waiter is going to show up with the soup, and he's also going to show up with those octagonal oyster crackers. And a better waiter is going to show up with the oyster crackers, and he's going to have one of those big pepper mills in case I want some cracked pepper in there. And even a better waiter than that is going to show up with the crackers, the pepper mill, and in his right coat pocket is going to be a little bottle of Tabasco. Now, I don't need, and quite frankly, I don't like to have pepper or Tabasco in my soup. And I don't even use the oyster crackers all that often. But what I appreciate is that they were thinking ahead. Because in case I wanted those things, it would be there and they wouldn't have to make me wait to go and get it. And that's what the info bar is doing. Just in case you want to know something about Acevedo Plumbing, watch what happens when I click on this subcontract. Boop. Now everything about Acevedo is here. or everything about Gamble Cement, or everything about house tiling, or everything about that specific subcontract. As I move this, you'll see these things change. And as an example of the power of this, sometimes I'm asked by folks, they give me the following scenario. They'll say, Mark, I've got a sub that I really like. He's awesome, but I have a fear. And the fear is I'm going to be overexposed with that guy. Well, using the info bar, let me show you how easy to find the answer. So you found Acevedo on job HS1912 because you're interested in this, and all of a sudden you start thinking about what's going on with Acevedo. You go into his financials and then click on his subcontracts, and now you'll see every active subcontract that Acevedo has with you. He's got 165 of them with me. So perhaps I am a little overexposed with this guy. Now, some of you might be thinking, I don't want my project management staff crawling through all this information, and they won't unless you give them access to it. So all of this is protected by the software, the security, as you set up. So if you only want to give a guy access to other subcontracts and none of the rest of this jazz, that's what you do. All right, so that info, all right, so that's my spiel on the info bar, and it's that ease of use that comes from the info bar and that the project log that, or I'm sorry, and the dashboard that folks find is a real strong reason to choose Spectrum over the competition. I'm going to jump in and look at some of the other things going on in here, and you guys can, I'll show you some of the other reasons why guys like it. I'm not going to talk about this screen, and I'm happy to do so. If you call up Andy and say, Andy, we want to go into more detail, I'll be happy to do that, because I just want to show you structures, because I think that's the important part of why guys are buying. We've got screens in the system like this one. This screen here is a cost activity screen. This is another reason why folks choose us. In this cost activity screen, when it comes out of the box, it looks like this. It's what we technically call a big mess. And the way this screen is structured, hold on a second, guys. I'll be right. I have to take a cough here. Sorry about that. I get all choked up when I talk about this. When a guy, if you'll see my cost codes or phase codes running top to bottom and from left to right, I've got some 62 different data points, all related to this job. And it all relates to the cost and hours and the dollars for the original budget, the current budget, the projected at completion, the week to date, the month to date numbers, the job to date numbers, the hours and dollars and quantities and the ratios amongst all that. There's a whole lot of stuff in here, way more than any one individual can use. So then we allow each user to come down here and say what they want to see. So if you said, I'd be happy looking at phase and cost type and job to date cost because I'm a simple kind of guy, and I'd like to organize this by cost type, and I'd like to save this, and we would call this simple report. And I could make that my default. And if I have enough authority, I could provide this to other operators or even assign it as a system-wide default. I could pop it down there. And what's nice about that is then I can design a bunch of these reports and maybe have a productivity report. It's going to show me job-to-date productivity versus my projected productivity and the variance amongst it. Or maybe I want to look at a traditional cost type report, job to date, open commitments, estimates. Let you guys read through that. And I can come into any of these items here and open this up and say, well, on this phase here, I've got material job to date cost of $1,000. How'd I get there? I'll be able to click on the history. And I'll be able to click any one of these invoices and drill into the invoice. And then when the invoice pops up, I'll be able to see specifics about the invoice. If this invoice was from a purchase order, I'd have a hyperlink here. And this is not showing me what I wanted to show. Let me go and check something else here. In fact, let me change this job to get something different going. Now when I jump in here, I got something I can show you. So check out what's going on here. I've got details here. I can see who approved the invoice with the rounding button. I'll be able to say OK to that. And because of how tightly we integrate everything, I have access to the document image. The image of the invoice is going to be here for me. I'll be able to jump in and look at the vendor if you give me permission, or maybe jump back and look at the PO that was the forerunner to this invoice, and have whatever notes or activities or document imaging in here that might be connected to it. And you'll notice in all this exploration, I've never once jumped back to that menu. Let's go ahead and close this. So this ability to have screens like this and then to output this, to be able to come into this and say, you know, it'd be great if I could push this out to Excel. These things are attractive to a great many of our customers. And when I pop it down here, here it is, that Excel file. I'll pop it up and say, okay, come on, Excel. There you go. Make me look good. Here we go. Here's that Excel file, formatted in the same way. Oh, let's put this one away. Formatted in the same way as it came out. All right, let's put that to bed. I'm going to take you through one more piece here as to why folks purchase the software. And we're going to go look at the notion of running an RFI, a little project management piece here. There are other things too. Our work order system, our ability to support your service department, right? The equipment management, the ability to support that department. You know, if you run big machines and such. Let's go look at how we handle running your project management piece. So I'm going to pop over into what we call the project log. It uses that same technology I just showed you. And the advantage of this is that we're able then to take all the logs and stick them in one screen. Now, many times that's not convenient, and I admit that. But where it is convenient is if you ever have to do searching for something that's a common variable across logs, it's really handy. And one of those common variables might be ball and court. For those of you who aren't familiar with the concept of ball and court, I want you to think of tennis. The ball, you're holding the ball, you throw it up, you whack it over to the guy on the other side of the net. The ball is now in his court. He has to do something with it. And so if you're thinking about paperwork or documentation in a project, you write an RFI, you send it out to somebody, the ball's now in their court, and you want to know where that document is so you can manage the process. So in this regard, if you go look at this MS Schwartz guy, he's sitting on a whole bunch of items. So when I give this guy a call, it'd be nice to know he's sitting on so we can discuss these items and get them done and get them back to me. You can use this same, remember how I was able to save settings in that previous screen I was at, and this uses the same technology, so I can use this one screen to build an RFI log, or use this screen to build a submittal log, or a daily log. And so I can get to that just by clicking through here. All right, let's go write an RFI. So I'm going to pop an RFI up. And I'm going to close the document imaging window. And this is an RFI. And again, we're answering the question why folks choose Spectrum. One of the reasons they choose Spectrum is because they want one system. They look around the office and they see guys buried under dozens and dozens of Excel spreadsheets. And they worry about how all the data might be on one guy's hard drive on a laptop that's in the back seat of his truck that he doesn't lock all the time. And they'd like to think that at any point anybody could sit down and manage a job if a guy takes a vacation or if, God forbid, he gets sick. And so they look to us to help them with that. And this is part of that project management piece. So let's see how it is to write an RFI. First thing you'll notice is that it looks like an RFI. I know this seems silly, but it's important. Guys in the project management side of the house tend to be visually oriented guys. They like to see what they're filling out. It's just more comfortable. It's like sitting down at the typewriter. Those of you who might remember what a typewriter is. Now, a couple things going on here. One, it's numbered by itself. It's already addressed to who this is going to. Why? Because when we set the job up, we said we send RFIs to Heather and Schwartz. And you'll notice the return required by date's on here too. We expect an RFI to come back in 5 days. And if I want to add someone else, I can pull up the job contact list. And then we'll send this out to Jed Ewell. And the ball in court at this point is unassigned, and I want Schwartz to handle it. And you can build an action list on the kinds of things you'd like to have back. We'll say awaiting review. And what's the topic of this RFI going to be? And we're going to say need bigger fan. One of the hardest parts about my job as a demo guy is coming up with these topics. I never know what to put, so generally I put nonsense, and I apologize to those of you who would like something a little more serious. If you need to sort, you may want to sort RFIs by spec section, or paragraphs, or references, or what have you, and you can use all this data to sort that, or by discipline. And then you can type in what this is about. Too hot for giraffe, need a bigger fan. Now over here is that document imaging, and I haven't even showed you how it works yet. So when you slide that out, it's just empty. And are you guys ready for the hard part? You grab this, and you drag it over here, and you drop it. And you're done. And then you minimize it. And then you say, okay, that looks great, and I'll be me. So I'll be Mark Schwartz. And then you hit the preview button. Here's the RFI. Notice it looks like what I said it was going to look like. As I slide down, and one more thing, you may go look at this and think, that's ugly. I sure would like something better. And that's okay. Our feelings won't be hurt. And so when you get the system, we redesign it so it looks the way you want it to look. And here's the fan. Notice it's one document, 2 pages. First page was the RFI. Second page is our picture with the giraffe. And then we click email, and the email pops up, and it's already addressed to Heather and myself and to Judd. There's the subject line. There's the RFI, and I can come in here and put a little note. What do you think of this? And then send it. Now Spectrum will send an email from Spectrum, but it looks like it comes from me. Or if you're using it, it'll look like it came from you. So let me walk you through this. So I'm going to be the engineer or the architect who gets this. Here's the email that just came in as Mr. Architect. Notice it comes from me. And here's the RFI. I'll spare you opening it. Here's my text I put in. And I might read that and respond. And I might say, it seems reasonable. Reasonable. Yeah, that's right. That looks right. Please get me some numbers and send it back. And now I'm going to behave like the project manager. And I could be anywhere. And I can do this over my phone, what I'm about to show you. And one of the most frustrating things about doing a demo, here we go. I was about to give you a little speech about how long sometimes this takes. Here's the return email that came from our architect. And now most project managers I talk to, they'll have job folders set up in their email. So we said, why get in the middle of that? Why not let a guy do what he's always been doing? Because as I said, you could do this with your phone if you needed to. You just drag it out of here and put it into this folder because it relates to that job. Now I've told Spectrum, I want you to do something for me. I want you to go into my inbox and go to that folder, and whatever you see in that folder, bring it back into Spectrum. Now Spectrum does this about once every 15 minutes, and sometimes I'm lucky enough that it happens during my demo, during this process in the demo. We'll see how lucky I am. So I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to go back to my project log, and I'm going to pull up the correspondence log. Yeah, maybe I am lucky. We'll see. No, I don't think so. This is an older one. So first on the outbound side, you can see here this outbound RFI I sent out from RFI 98. And it'll have in it everyone I sent it to and when it went and the text I put along with the attached document, which in this case was that 2-page RFI. And on the inbound side, let's see what's going on with it. I'm going to refresh this one more time. We'll see. I don't think it does though. This is from an earlier demo. Oh no, it is. Look at that. Here's the RFI that came back. And now what else happens? Well, on our dashboard, we set up this lovely thing called My Response. Let me close this out real quick. My responses to review, and I'm going to refresh this. It'll happen automatically, but I set mine to do manually so I could do the big reveal. Watch. Boom. There it is. Here I am. Now I've got to review this. When I click on it, it pulls up the RFI. You saw me do this, right? 2 out for draft, need a bigger fan. And look at this. Remember that response I typed? Here it is. Part of the RFI. Down below here, this shows me my outbound correspondence and now the inbound, all part of the package. Because what we're doing here is we're building the evidence train for why a change needs to happen. Right? Some guy sees a problem. He takes a photograph. He sends it in. You send it out to the sub. The sub gives you some numbers. They all comes back. You're going to take all this stuff and put it together and make a change request out of it. And so we want to track that evidence chain. So then the question now, he says, get me numbers. What do you do? Well, maybe you create an RFP and send that out to the subs to get their response. Or maybe you just take it right to a change. Or maybe there's something else you want to do. These 3 buttons are user defined. In fact, you can have more if you need them, or less if you just want 1 or 2. I'm just going to take you right to the change. And we're going to pop out here. And let's see what we got. So now I've got this change request rolling. I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to hit enter. And notice here the description. It's the same description as my RFI. It flows in. I'm going to say our status is going to pop over here. And the status, let me open this up. This is the intersection of accounting and project management. Accountants view the world in revenue and cost recognition and whether we can bill for things or not. I'm going to make this proposed. In our proposal, we're not going to recognize anything. We certainly can't bill it. But notice proposed shares the same accounting actions as settled and void, because to an accountant, settled, void, and proposed are all the same thing, but to a project manager, they're obviously different. So I'm going to say OK to this. And then we're going to come in and let's just make a quick cost here. And you can import these costs, but I'm just going to do something real quick here. We're going to say we need some labor on this thing, and we're just going to say we need 150 hours at $15,000, and we can put notes in here. Build stronger fan platform. And then we'll need some materials. We'll spend, let's go back up here for $25,000 for the bigger fan. Now, as I'm doing this, look what happens up here. Spectrum is pricing this out for me based on markups, add-ons, and fees that it's calculating based on what I told it to do, based on what my contractual arrangement is with my customer. And if I go to the markups tab over here, you can see what we told it, and I can change this. And in the add-ons piece here, I can do that and say, well, I said I get overhead and small tools. It's calculating them based as I told it to do. It's a change to the budget, so let's go say where that's going to go. Same thing over here. On the billing side, you probably don't know how this is going to be represented in your schedule of values, so you leave this blank, but we're in a demo. And in a demo, I want to move things along, so I'll plug a number in here. I'll call it 991144. And then Spectrum says, do you want to add a new billing item? And I've been given permission to do this. So I'm going to call this bigger fan. And, oh man, this whole typing thing seems to elude me a little bit. And we'll see our 1144, bing, bing, bing. That looks good. If I want to put notes in, I can. And if I want to put dates in, I can do that too. And if I want to add another document in here, why not? Let's go do that for fun. Only we'll just throw a random document in here, some PDF I've got laying around. So, let's print the form. And we'll say we'll do the one with the cost detail. We're going to include document images and the related documents, but maybe not all the related documents. Because I'm bringing data from both the correspondence items into the RFI, I don't need to include them on this. So we'll say OK. And then preview. Check it out. Here's that change request proposal. It's got the the bigger fan number, or my revenue piece, what I'm going to bill you, how I got to the costs, the markup, that other document I thought I'd throw in for good look. I'm continuing to scroll down. Here's the RFI I included. Here's the piece where you asked me to get you some numbers. And then here's that fan, the picture of the draft that was part of the RFI. And then I can email this. And in that email, it's already addressed. There's the change request. Please sign and return. And out she goes. All right, guys. My original task was to tell you why folks choose Spectrum. I think I've given you lots of reasons. Not my reasons as a sales guy. When we talk to our customers, these are the kinds of things what I've shown you are the kinds of things they tell us as to why they choose us. Now, we've got some questions here. Let me see if I can answer them. I'm going to pull this little thing onto this. I don't know if you can see these questions here. See, we have a Minley Engineering and Panel Fab business with a small construction company. We execute 45 mil a year. Everything is project-based. Is Spectrum a good fit? From a guy named Tom York. Seems like a nice guy. The answer is, I don't know. this would be a perfect reason, Tom, to get in touch, or we'll have Andy get in touch with you, and let's sit down and talk about it. In some cases, I'd say yeah, but in others, maybe not. And that, they say devil's in the details. So we'd be very happy to talk to you about it and see if it would be a good fit. And then the last question I have today is, doesn't this increase the bandwidth required for your internet access? Not significantly. Where the huge increase comes is when you're moving documents through. So if you're moving large documents, yeah, you're going to want to have a little more internet access. But for the rest of it, no, it's not very. It doesn't put much demand on your internet access at all. Okay, guys, I've given you what I think you need to hear. Are you still with me, Andy?
I am. Mark,
right.
Thank you so much for taking your time today.
It was my pleasure.
I know you have to run here pretty quickly. Folks, just wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. We will be sending out copies of the recording to folks in the next day or two. If you would like a copy of it, we'll leave this webinar up for a handful more minutes. Just let us know. Also, if you'd like more of a one-on-one personalized demo, feel free to let us know in the question and comment box as well. We can get those set up for you as well. So, Mark, anything to add before you leave, sir? Or?
No, other than I want to thank everyone from my side of the fence for taking the time. I know you've got plenty of other things to do. And we look forward to talking to you about it. Either I'll be involved in it, or we've got Heather or one of our other guys, your sales guys, and we're all looking forward just to talking to you and seeing how we can help you out.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Mark, again for your time. I know you got to run. And folks, for everybody else, like I said, we'll leave this up for about another maybe 2 minutes or so, and then we'll close it out from there.
Thanks,
everybody.
All right, bye-bye.